Hello and welcome into the No Pulp podcast. This is Will Scott alongside Noah Cierzan. Noah, it's great to see your face, man. How have you been?
I've been great. I'd just like to start off this webisode the same way that Joe Burrow started off his NFL draft by saying, there are no barbershops open, so my hair is a little bit longer. I didn't have time to get a haircut.
I'm digging the hair, dude. I like it. You should,
just look. A disclaimer for our audience.
My hair, this is the first time in a while that it's been this long. But once those barbershops get back open, I'm sure we'll be some of their first customers.
Oh, yeah.
Noah, happy you've been well, man. Plenty of news about the future of college sports coming out in the last week. Let's start off by talking about college players potentially getting paid. The NCAA's top governing body coming out on Wednesday and saying that they support a proposal for college athletes to receive money off of their name and likeness. A former proposal is scheduled to be voted on no later than October, and the NCAA board will vote on the proposal no later than January. So, Noah, let me pose this question to you. Do you think this is a good or bad thing for college athletics?
I mean, I think it's a good thing because it's a good thing for the players, but I'd like to pump the brakes just a little bit because there's still a long way to go. They're not going to vote on this for a while. This was purely a recommendation. And when you read into this a bit more, you see the details are a little bit murky. You know, the university won't be paying the players directly. And while players can reference their sport and school, they can't directly use the school's logos. So when you think about things like, a lot of people have been talking about NCAA football, whether it's coming back, that's going to be really hard because you still have to negotiate the rights with the schools. And, the players haven't really fully unionized. So I think although this is a great step for players, great step for college athletics, it's not necessarily as big as you would think. And I think even if this does pass as it is now, it won't make as big of a difference as you might think now.
I think that this is long overdue, and I think this is a good thing for college athletics moving forward. Look, you're not going to have the schools directly paying the players, which might be problematic because you have players going to the bigger schools that could offer more money. But players are going to be able to go to schools and receive money off of commercials, endorsement deals. So they're not going to be getting salaries, but they're going to be able to go out and be in commercials and whatnot and maybe be in a video game and make money off of that. So I think this is a really, really good thing for college athletics. But there's also another topic of discussion here when talking about the future of college sports. There is some conversation about the NCAA is discussing allowing transfers to become immediately eligible to play. There's a vote scheduled on that later this month. So same question on this topic, Noah, a positive impact or a negative impact for college athletics?
Well, I think if it does go through, once again, it's pro players, so I think it's pro college athletics. That being said, we saw just a week ago that a board came out and they didn't like this new rule, which I think is just a terrible idea, especially considering the fact that you're starting to lose talent for football, basketball, really all sports to either leagues that are in the country or out of the country. You're losing this elite talent, and I think the fact that coaches are able to just drop everything and leave whenever, but players aren't, that's not fair. So I think the actual rule, if it does go through, absolutely, I think this is great for players, but I think it's a little bit murky. And honestly, I don't love where the situation is headed right now.
Oh, I agree. This is not good for college athletics. And we talked about this on our show a couple weeks ago, Noah, but this would be absolutely detrimental to those mid-major programs. If you have a freshman that excels at Gardner-Webb or Furman, North Carolina is going to scoop them up the next year. This would create a free agent-like system for college athletics. It'd be detrimental to those smaller schools. Now, I will say this. I would support players being able to transfer from a Power 5 school to mid-major school and become immediately eligible there, or mid-major to mid-major, or even Power 5 to Power 5. But making the leap from a mid-major to a Power 5 school and gaining immediate eligibility would be detrimental to those smaller schools.
But Will, where do you draw that line? Because a school in basketball like Gonzaga, they're not Power 5, but they are still a blue blood school. So creating a rule like that.
So just passing this, even if you do have restrictions and limitations, would be extremely murky, like you said.
But I think with that being said, I still think that players should be able to move spots because, maybe they go to a spot and it's just not a right fit for them. Why should they be penalized for, not choosing the right fit in their first college. There are kids that transfer every single year for just academic purposes. Why can't athletes do the same?
I agree with you that I'm all about, player freedom and, coaches are leaping from school to school. But Noah, you can't deny that this would be problematic for those smaller schools. I mean, think about all those schools that we've seen make a run in March Madness, UMBC, Florida Gulf Coast. They relied on veteran leadership. They would not have that if this rule is passed.
Well, we might have to agree to disagree on that one. But the fact remains that the NCAA, they still have a couple problems that they might need to solve due to losing talent to other leagues. This time it was Deshaun Nix, who on Tuesday decommitted from UCLA to sign with the NBA G League's new Pathway program. Nix is the third top 20 recruit in the 2020 class to sign with the select team that will be based out of Southern California. And the Athletics' Sham Charania reported that he will be making in the $300,000 range. Will, this new program has already started to pull talent away from the NCAA. So do you think that trend will continue? And what does this ultimately mean for college basketball?
Well, I think this is a big reason why the NCAA is moving quickly on this player receiving endorsement deal thing, because the G League has been a big threat in the last couple weeks. It's a domino effect. I mean, it started out by you had, the number one high school player in the country came out and said he was being playing the G League, and then Isaiah Todd came out and said the same thing. So it's creating a domino effect, and you're just going to see more and more players do it. But it's interesting because even if the NCAA does allow players to receive money off their name and likeness, and that does get approved in 2021, I mean, are they going to be able to pay them as much as the G League? I mean, these players are receiving, up to $300,000, maybe even $500,000, and those salaries are just going to continue to go up if the G League gains popularity from this. So this is a big problem for college athletics, because even if they do approve their players receiving money off their name and likeness, I don't know if they're going to be willing to let the players make that much.
And I totally agree with you, Will. This is bad news for the NCAA. You got to realize this is the first year for this Pathway program. And I think if it has any sort of success, you'll see a lot more guys choose this route. Well, $300,000. If you tell an 18-year-old that you can have $300,000 legally is the key, because we know that sometimes players get paid through boosters in college illegally, but this is legal money that they will get paid, and they won't have to deal with the NCAA BS bringing up, moving away from the one-time transfer waiver. You don't have to deal with that. And, the G League has also really been promoting these guys. When Deshaun Nix signed with the G League, they put out some tweets and kind of had some graphics with them. You don't see that with the NCAA. They don't promote individuals as much. So I think if this has any sort of success, this could be very bad news for the NCAA.
Let's talk about lacrosse now, Noah. Big transfer news to discuss. According to Inside Lacrosse, Princeton's Michael Sowers is heading to Duke, pending admission into the University School of Business. Noah, the Blue Devils getting arguably the best player in the country. What does this mean for their title hopes in 2021 and for lacrosse in the ACC?
I mean, their title hopes can only go up. Duke was a great team this year, and they add maybe the best facilitator in the country in Michael Sowers. He had 47 points in 5 games this year. 47 points in 5 games. That is absolutely ridiculous. So Duke, it's hard to say that they could be the favorite next year now that they have Sowers on their team. It was really the Sowers sweepstakes, and whoever got him might be the favorite now. And for the ACC as a whole, they were stacked this year, and they will be stacked next year again. A lot of Syracuse's guys are coming back, so Syracuse is going to be fantastic. Duke is going to be fantastic. Virginia is going to be great. North Carolina, oh yeah, and Notre Dame. It's not like they are one of the more elite teams, but they are still very good. The ACC is 5 deep, and honestly, you could see all 5 of those teams make it to the NCAA tournament.
For the Duke fans asking what they're getting, you're getting the Zion Williamson of lacrosse. That is how good this guy is. That's the impact he's going to have on your program. He ranks 2nd in Division I history with a career goals per game average of 6.43. He's been an All-American his entire career. This guy is going to walk off the field after it's all said and done as one of the greatest college lacrosse players of all time. I mean, that is how good this guy is. And he makes Duke an immediate contender. Duke was having a good year. They were ranked in the top 10 when the season got canceled. But for me, Syracuse is still the favorite because Syracuse looked unstoppable. They were undefeated. I didn't think Syracuse was going to lose a game, though. I thought they were going to finish the season undefeated as national champions. But Michael Sowers going to Duke definitely adds some competition to the ACC. It's going to make it even more competitive than it already was. But I just don't see Duke beating Syracuse because Syracuse minus Nick Mellon has pretty much everyone coming back.
Well, and just to put it into a bit of perspective, Michael Sowers put up those crazy numbers at Princeton, which it's not like Princeton is like a joke of a program or anything, but it's nowhere near what, the rest of the ACC schools are like. So from going from like a smaller lacrosse program with less tradition to a conference with, even though it's younger, it has a ton of tradition. I think Michael Sowers is going to do great things. And, while sports did get cut short this year, there were still a lot of great performances, and we'd like to recognize them here on No Pulp. We've got a couple of awards to give out, starting with Athlete of the Year. And Will, I have a feeling I know where you're going with this one, so I'll give you the floor.
I'm looking for my Joe Burrow jersey. I don't know where I put it, but it's got to be Joe Burrow, right? I mean, he has the FBS record for single-season touchdowns with 60, 15-0, won the Heisman, won the national championship, won every award you can possibly think of, broke every record you can think of. He had the single greatest season in college sports history. I'm not talking about just college football. College sports history, he had the greatest season. He accomplished so much. Won the national championship, won the Heisman, did not lose a game. Unbelievable season by Joe Burrow, no doubt my athlete of the year in college athletics.
So I figured you'd pick Joe Burrow, and honestly, I can't knock that pick at all. He was fantastic. But when I was looking at other performances, there was one that stood out where I actually think you could put them up against each other, and that's Sabrina Ionescu, Oregon women's basketball. Take a step back and look at her whole career, 2,000 points, 1,000 assists, and 1,000 rebounds. And this year, she averaged 17.5 points per game, 9.1 assists. She grabbed a ton of boards as a point guard and put that Oregon team on the map. They went out early season and they beat Team USA women's basketball. She was fantastic, arguably one of the better, not only women's college basketball players of all time, but one of the better college basketball players that has ever played the game. It was really sad to see her Oregon career get cut a little bit short, but then she turns around and she's the number one pick in the WNBA. Sabrina Ionescu, I think, is the only one that can, go toe-to-toe with Joe Burrow, and that's why I picked her as my athlete of the year.
It's a shame she didn't have a chance to win a national championship because I think most of us would have been filling out our brackets for Oregon to go all the way. Freshman of the year. We just talked about athlete of the year, but how about your freshman of the year across college sports now?
Freshman of the year, this one is tough, and I'm going to college football with a different quarterback who is quietly one of the best quarterbacks in the entire country.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Howell of North Carolina, true freshman this year, put up 3,600 yards, 38 touchdowns to only 7 interceptions. And, return of the MAC. Are you kidding me? He brings in Sam Howell, absolutely lights it up. And this is not a North Carolina program that is necessarily loaded with weapons, but he still got it done, goes out in their bowl game against Temple and absolutely throttles the Owls 55-13. And I think, Sam Howell, not only did he do this as a true freshman, but he proved that, he's going to be a super, super highly touted NFL prospect. And, I honestly can't say enough about what he did as a freshman and why I gave him my freshman of the year.
Most underrated player in the country, Sam Howell. He's going to be something to keep an eye on in the next couple of years in college football. I'm actually going to stay in Chapel Hill for my freshman of the year. I got Cole Anthony. Look, I know he missed a lot of basketball, but he was by far, I think, the best freshman in college basketball this season. 18.5 points a game at North Carolina. When he was on the floor, North Carolina was so much better than without him. He was the most impressive freshman in the country. I would take him with the number one pick in the NBA draft. He was that good.
Yeah, no doubt. He was fantastic. Well, now going from the players to who coaches them, Will, who is your coach of the year?
I am going to say Dawn Staley from South Carolina women's basketball. I know that Oregon was getting all the hype But they weren't the number one team in the country. That was South Carolina. They were 32-1, number one in the country, 16-0 in the SEC, and finished the season with 26 straight wins. I think it was going to be them and Oregon in the national championship game had we seen it. Dawn Staley, you can't say enough about her, the program she's built at South Carolina, won the national championship in 2017, would have had a great chance of winning another national championship this season.
I like that pick, Will. I'm going to stay in college football, and this one was tough for me because it was between two guys, Matt Rule and PJ Fleck, both completely turned around.
Not Ed Orgeron?
Not Ed Orgeron.
How is he not in your top two?
Because, he had a loaded roster. These other guys, they turned programs around, and this is a little bit of a homer pick from me, but I'm going to have to go with PJ Fleck for the pure fact that he won his bowl game, brings a Minnesota team that he took over that was really in the dumps, didn't have much talent, but he really inspired the team. If you watch any videos of post-game speeches, like, he's a truly inspiring dude, makes you want to run through a brick wall, and it showed in their performance. They went 11-2 this season, win the Outback Bowl against Auburn, which is, Minnesota beating a SEC team such as Auburn. That is, does wonders for the program. So that's why PJ Fleck is my coach of the year.
That's a good pick. And let's close out our picks by talking about the team of the year. Who's your team of the year, Noah?
So this one was also very tough for me, but I'm going to go with Oregon women's basketball to just kind of reiterate the point you made earlier that everybody was going to pick them to run through the tournament. And I actually think they would have done that. They were led by Sabrina Ionescu. They had other WNBA draft picks on that roster. And, they were really running through the Pac-12. They beat Team USA early in the season. And you can't really say enough about that Oregon team. So I'm going to go with Oregon women's basketball. You mentioned the WNBA draft and how you had all those Oregon players drafted. My team of the year is the program with the most NFL draft picks, and that's LSU. Every single player that was draft eligible got either drafted or signed as an undrafted free agent. That's just unbelievable to think about. The talent that was on that LSU team. They had the toughest schedule in the country, Noah. They played top 10 team after top 10 team and just ran through everybody, 15-0. They looked unbelievable in the playoff, blew out OU, beat Clemson by 17. So for me, it's LSU. What a season by Joe Burrow and Ed Orgeron. Yeah, LSU, they were fantastic. I can't knock that one. You said that Joe Burrow was maybe, or you said he was the greatest college athlete of all time. LSU will definitely go down as one of the best college teams of all time, so I do like your pick.
Well, Joe Burrow, I don't know if I'd say greatest athlete of all time, but he's the greatest season of all time by any college athlete. And I think you can say the same thing for LSU. Well, thanks for tuning in to the No Pulp podcast. This has been Will Scott alongside Noah Cierzan. Stay safe, everyone, and we'll see you next time.